The air crackled with anticipation as Flight 148 prepared for departure. The initial flight plan was straightforward, a routine ascent into the azure expanse. However, the winds of fate had other plans. Runway 23, with its altered trajectory, became the new departure point, a seemingly insignificant change, yet one that would have profound consequences. The crew adjusted their charts, their minds attuned to the new course. What they couldn't have known was that this shift to runway 23 would set in motion a series of events culminating in unimaginable tragedy. Meteorological reports hinted at shifting wind patterns, sculpting the air currents around the towering peaks. Safety dictated a different approach, a new path that would, in theory, guide the aircraft clear of the treacherous mountain slopes. Pilots, trained to respect the capricious nature of the skies, understood the necessity of such adjustments. Yet even the most seasoned aviator could not have foreseen the events that would unfold. The mountains, stoic and unforgiving, loomed large in the distance, their snow-capped peaks piercing the clear blue canvas of the sky. For pilots, they represented both a challenge and a hazard, their jagged peaks and unpredictable winds demanding respect. As Flight 148 taxied towards runway 23, the crew went through their pre-flight checks, their voices calm and measured in the cockpit. With a final roar of the engines, Flight 148 lifted off from runway 23, ascending gracefully into the vast expanse of the sky. The cityscape shrunk beneath them, transforming into a miniature tableau of concrete and glass. Inside the cockpit, the atmosphere was one of focused professionalism, the crew working in practiced harmony. The autopilot, a marvel of modern engineering, was engaged, its sophisticated systems designed to guide the aircraft along its predetermined course. Little did they know, this technological marvel would soon become entangled in the unfolding tragedy. The autopilot promised precision, a steady hand to guide the aircraft through the often turbulent skies. Pilots had come to rely on this sophisticated system, particularly during long-haul flights or when navigating through challenging weather conditions. However, like any complex system, it was not infallible. A slight miscalculation, an error in input, could have cascading consequences. As Flight 148 soared higher, the autopilot diligently performed its duties, adjusting the aircraft's altitude and direction. Yet, somewhere in the intricate web of circuits and algorithms, a fatal error had taken root. Perhaps it was a sensor malfunction, a misinterpretation of data, or a simple human error in inputting the coordinates. Whatever the cause, the autopilot had begun to steer it towards danger, an invisible hand pushing Flight 148 closer to the unforgiving embrace of the mountains. The air traffic controller's voice, usually a calm and reassuring presence, crackled through the radio, a hint of urgency creeping into his tone. Flight 148, do you copy? Please confirm your altitude and position. Silence. Seconds stretched into an eternity. The air traffic controller's repeated calls met with an unnerving void. Flight 148, once a blip on the radar screen, had vanished. The last recorded data point placed it perilously close to the treacherous mountain range, its altitude dropping at an alarming rate. The chilling realization sent a collective shiver down the spines of everyone in the control room. Flight 148 had flown beyond the reach of radar, into the unforgiving embrace of the mountains. Frantic calls were made, frequencies switched, hoping for a response, a sign that Flight 148 was still airborne. But the silence was deafening, a heavy blanket of despair settling over the control room. The minutes ticked by, each one an agonizing reminder of the lost aircraft. Search and rescue teams were scrambled, their helicopters transformed into beacons of hope, their spotlights piercing the growing darkness as they scoured the rugged terrain below. Every peak, every valley, every crevice was scrutinized, the desperate search echoing the silent prayers of those waiting for news. As darkness enveloped the mountains, hope began to dwindle. The search for survivors began immediately. Rescuers faced treacherous conditions, navigating through dense forests and rugged terrain. Every moment was crucial. The clock was ticking, and hope was fading. Despite the challenges, the rescuers remained determined, driven by the faint possibility of finding someone alive. The hunt for survivors was a race against time, filled with both despair and determination. The black boxes, crucial to unraveling the mystery of the crash, were recovered from the wreckage. These devices, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, held the key to understanding what went wrong. Investigators meticulously analyzed the data, piece by piece. The enigma of the crash slowly began to unfold. What they discovered was both startling and enlightening, shedding light on the final moments of the flight. Non-precision landings are inherently risky, especially in mountainous regions. Pilots must rely heavily on their instruments and experience. The peaks pose a significant threat, with unpredictable weather and limited visibility adding to the peril. In this case, the challenges of a non-precision landing became tragically evident. The dangers of the peaks were unforgiving, highlighting the need for advanced training and technology. Every crash brings with it invaluable lessons. This tragedy underscored the importance of rigorous training, advanced technology, and stringent safety protocols. The quest for safer skies is ongoing, driven by the desire to prevent such disasters in the future. Through innovation and vigilance, the aviation industry continues to evolve, striving to ensure that every flight is a safe one. The lessons learned from this crash will undoubtedly contribute to a safer and more secure aviation landscape.